If you're trying to figure out who the greatest pure hitter in baseball history is, the argument almost always circles back to Ted Williams. Not because he's the most famous name or because he played in the most modern era, but because when you strip hitting down to its core, getting on base, hitting for power, controlling the strike zone, his numbers basically stand alone. There's a reason players, analysis, and historians keep coming back to him. He didn't just hit well, he hit in a way nobody else has ever fully replicated. Start with the most obvious stat that defines offensive value: on base percentage. Ted Williams owns the highest career on base percentage in MLB history at 482. That alone is ridiculous. Getting on base nearly half of the time you step into the box over a 19-year career isn't just elite, it's insane. And it wasn't inflated by modern rules or short seasons. He did it in an era where pitching depth was strong, strike zones were larger, and he even lost nearly five full seasons due to military service in his prime. The gap between him and everyone else at the top of on base percentage leaderboards is big enough that it's hard to argue it's anything but dominance. Then you combine that with power, and the picture gets even more extreme. Ted Williams also holds the second highest career OPS in baseball history. OPS blends on base ability and slugging, basically summarizing how dangerous a hitter is overall. Being top two all time means he wasn't just drawing walks or just hitting home runs, he was doing both at an all time level simultaneously. Most hitters excel in one area and are pretty good in the other. Ted Williams was elite at both for his entire career. Now, here's where things get even more interesting: batting average. Among the players with 500 plus home runs, Ted Williams has the highest career batting average. That matters because 500 plus home runs already filters for elite sluggers, guys like Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Albert Pujols. Those are some of the greatest hitters of all time. And yet Ted Williams still stands out in that group because he combined elite power with elite contact. Most sluggers trade batting average for power. Ted Williams didn't have to make that trade. And then there's one of the most iconic achievements in baseball history. He is still the last player to hit 400 in a season. In 1941, Williams hit 406. That number has basically become baseball mythology at this point because no one has touched it in more than 80 years. Modern pitching, analytics, and defensive positioning have made 400 feel impossible. But even in his own era, it wasn't normal. It was extraordinary. The fact that nobody has come really close since adds weight to how absurd that season actually was. Strikeout rate was another underrated part of his greatness. Ted Williams had a better career strikeout percentage than Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Pujols, and Willie Mays. That's a group of hitters who combined for decades of dominance and hundreds of Hall of Fame level seasons. Ted Williams wasn't just avoiding outs, he was avoiding them more efficiently than most of the greatest hitters of all time. In today's game, strikeouts are accepted as part of power hitting. Ted Williams was doing damage without giving away outs at nearly the same rate. Now, combine longevity, level production with rarity. He is one of 3 players in MLB history with 500 plus home runs, a 300 plus career batting average, and 1,000 plus OPS. That combination is basically the offensive triple crown career value: power, contact, and overall offensive dominance, all in one career profile. Most players don't even reach one of those thresholds. Ted Williams cleared all 3 while missing prime seasons due to wartime service and later military recall during the Korean War. That's one of the most important contact points in his entire resume. He lost nearly 5 full seasons during what could have been his physical peak years. If you project even production across those missing years, his already insane counting stats get even more ridiculous. I'm not talking about a fully uninterrupted career. I'm talking about a career interrupted right in the middle of prime dominance, and still ending up with some of the greatest rate stats ever recorded. But where Ted Williams really separates himself is his peak stretch, especially from 1941 to 1949. Over that span, he put up numbers that feel almost fictional when you average it out per season: 35 home runs, 185 hits, 359 batting average, and an OPS of 1.161. That's not just elite, that's separation from basically the entire league. He wasn't slightly better than everyone else, he was operating on a different level entirely. What makes that peak even more impressive is consistency. It wasn't one outlier season like a modern hot streak inflated by small sample size or specific ballpark conditions. It was nearly a decade of sustained dominance. Pitchers adjusted to him, defenses adjusted to him, and he still produced at the same level. That's usually where hitters decline. Ted Williams just kept forcing the league to deal with him. Another underrated aspect is his plate discipline. Ted Williams is often described as the greatest spear hitter, not just because of results, but because of process. He had an almost scientific understanding of the strike zone. He famously broke the zone into segments and treated hitting as pattern recognition rather than guesswork. That's part of why his on base percentage stayed so high and why his strikeout rates stayed so low. He simply didn't chase bad pitches ever. When you combine all this: on base leader of all time, top 2 OPS all time, unmatched production among 500 home run hitters, historic 400 season, elite strikeout control, rare career milestone combination, and a peak stretch that rivals any player, it starts to form a clear picture. This isn't a player who relies on one argument. He has multiple independent pillars supporting the same conclusion. Even if someone tries to argue for other names, Babe Ruth for power dominance, Barry Bonds for peak modern offensive production, Hank Aaron for longevity, the gap closes fast when you evaluate the things, as a hitter. Ted Williams doesn't just excel in one dimension, he dominates all of them at once. That's ultimately what makes the case for Ted Williams so strong. Baseball history is full of great hitters, but very few can say they were the best at getting on base near the very top in overall offensive production, elite in batting average among power hitters, historically disciplined, and capable of a peak that redefined what hitting excellence looks like. When you stack all of that together, the argument stops being theoretical and it becomes statistically reality. Ted Williams isn't just in the conversation for the greatest hitter of all time, he's one of the few players where the numbers consistently push him toward the very top of it, no matter how you frame it. So that'll be it for this video. Leave a comment, tell me what you think. I'll much appreciate it if you click that like button. Thank you for watching.